I know you're eternally optimistic, but let's get realistic here. It feels like November's gotten a lot closer as far as perception to a lot of members of Congress these days, and suddenly the ability to negotiate continues to narrow. What I've seen, the most optimistic view is it's a coin flip whether something can get through. Where are you?
Well, I think we are on a two-track strategy. We're trying to push as hard as we can for anything we can get through, and we're going to keep doing that legislatively. But that's also why we rolled out an executive action agenda. At the beginning of January, we started talking about it. We rolled it out a few weeks ago. We've already ticked off about 5 or 6 of those items on that executive agenda list that will raise wages and lower costs for the American people. And so those are things that the president can do unilaterally with executive action. They're not as good, Chuck, as legislation, so I'm not trying to make the argument that they are, but I am trying to say that these will just continue to add to the ways in which we bring relief to a lot of families who are still struggling across the country. And so we're moving both tracks, and I'm very optimistic on the executive agenda front. I am still hopeful on the legislative front, and we're not giving up.
I'm going to channel something that I've heard. I've been traveling a lot more over the last couple of months in talking to folks outside of this Acela corridor here. And the question is, hey, can you just do one thing? How about just doing the child tax credit? Or how about just doing universal pre-K? Or how about just doing prescription drugs? Just do one of them. Or I've even heard student loan relief. Can you do one? And if you could pick one, what is viable?
Well, I think that the thing that we have been talking about is scaled down from what we talked about before. It is some combination of tax reform, which is a big deal to make the wealthiest pay their fair share and pay for all of this. Prescription drug reform, which would be a big deal to lower costs for the American people on prescription drugs. And then climate, some portion of action on climate change for sure. And then the question is, can we also get something on the care economy? And I'll just tell you, Chuck, whether it's the child tax credit, whether it's child care, we need to do something to get women back into the workforce and to address this crisis where we've had more women leave the workforce and now fewer re-entering the workforce because child care has become so expensive. Housing is another one that we're still pushing on, just because if you're thinking about inflation in this moment, right? Gas prices are going up. So what do we do to make sure that families can meet their budget? We lower costs of other things that have also been inflationary, like childcare and housing. So that's how we're thinking about it. We will do whatever we can get done with 50 votes in the Senate and 218 votes in the House. Student debt relief, student debt cancellation, that the president can do on his own. And we have, as you know, been pushing him very, very hard. We got the first half of that, which was at least a pause on the payments, a continued extension of the pause on the payments. But now, hopefully, before this expires at the end of August, we'll get the cancellation of some amount of student debt.
And what should be, let me go deep on that. What should be the parameters of who gets their debt canceled? Who should be in that group of people?
Yeah, well, here's how I think about it. When I ran for Congress in 2016, student debt was at $1.3 trillion. Today, student debt is at $1.9 trillion. A lot of this money is money that the federal government makes and that these debt collectors make on interest rates that are higher than what we actually need to be charging. And so this is, if you look at the whole issue, it's like, why would we work against ourselves if the objective is to get as many people educated as possible with the highest qualifications, whether it's a community college or whether it's a four-year college or a trade school, and get them into jobs where they can support themselves and their families. So this all shows that if as much debt as you can cancel, you may know that I'm for canceling all of it, but as much debt as you can cancel is going to stimulate the economy. Last fact here is that if we were to cancel all of the debt that's out there, we would raise the wealth of black families in America by 40%. This is a racial justice issue as well.
Why wouldn't you means test that?
Well, I think that the principle is that so many people have debt, and we've made education so unaffordable that the small percentage of people who can afford to pay it back is not worth the barriers that you would construct to actually getting it out to the people who need it. I mean, that's always the problem with means testing. People think that means testing is the answer to everything, but it puts barriers in the way that actually slow down getting the help to the people who need it the most.
Is it easier, and this is real, is it easier to wipe away the interest first?
I mean, I think wiping away the interest doesn't really do it because here's another really interesting thing that I've learned over the last couple of years. The fastest growing demographic of people with student debt now is elders. It's seniors on fixed income who are either still paying off their student debt or they're taking over the debt of their kids or grandkids who can't afford it, and they're on fixed income. So, you know, again, I think sometimes we overthink this stuff and trying to parse it down when the studies actually show that we would have a net economic benefit, because here's what happens. When you free up student debt payments for people, it's not like they just stock away that money. They actually put it into buying, you know, cars, houses, whatever. So it stimulates the economy through their purchases.